we are builder and provider of e-reading. We sell ebook. We build the technology platform for selling ebook, for library management, and we also design and sell world-class reading devices. How many of you actually have had cover? That's awesome. So stay tuned. There are so many good things coming, especially in our apps. I cannot give you a little bit of a detail. My PR and HR people will kill me, but lots of good stuff is coming on our app. Like any other event like this, we try to take advantage and leverage the most out of the event. This is a networking event, this is a recruiting event, this is a technology conversation event, this is an event that we actually probably find our next network of like-minded people that we would love to actually spend more time with them over some nibbling and wine and fruit. Who is hiring? Can I have a raise of hand for who is hiring? People that are here, make sure you leave your resume for them. We have our HR group here as well. You first give your resume to me, and then the rest. Of course, come on. So it will be awesome to actually use this opportunity and expand that. It's an amazing honor to be part of you, be part of this culture, be part of the culture of the reading, and expand that level of get-together, networking, and learning from each other. Without further ado, we have a great, amazing group of panelists here who accepted graciously to be part of this evening with us, spending their time and giving us some of their insight. I would like to introduce you one by one, our beautiful panelists coming over here, please. Kunejan, I will be very friendly. I won't give the last name, not because I'm actually very friendly, because most of the time I have a memory of a goldfish and I forget. So I'm awesome at remembering the beautiful face, not very good at remembering the last name. Please, have a seat. I also want to thank our great volunteers in Persian Women in Tech. I would like to ask them to give us a couple of minutes of their time to start the session, let us know when the next one and everything goes before we start our conversation.
Is this working? Yes. Hello, Toronto. What a great turnout. So how many of you are first-timers to Persian Women in Tech event? Wow, that's amazing. So one of the things that I don't know what's happening is like what happens to our past participants. And so every time we get, honestly, new participants, maybe yes, a round of applause for all this new partially Persian, and all the other ethnicities that are coming to these events. Fantastic. So a little bit of background about Persian Women in Tech. So my name is Layla. I actually lead Persian Women in Tech Toronto, and it's such an honor to be here today with all of you. Nasser and Jim, thank you so much for hosting us. What a beautiful event, what a beautiful venue, and thank you so much for this amazing appetizers and drinks and wonderful networking opportunity that we all had. I hope that you all enjoyed making new connections, meeting new people, potentially finding new jobs or ditching the old jobs, kind of. I also wanted to give a round of applause for the Persian Women in Tech team members. So a little bit about, first of all, myself. I left the corporate world last year, so I'm an entrepreneur. I started my travel business and simplifying travel through building a technology. So but I've been an ex-corporate girl for the past 15 years. But the building the community for women, by women, and bringing all of us together has been a passion of myself and our other team members. So Persian Women in Tech is a non-for-profit organization, and we launched January last year. I see Leila Sami here. We had our launch event at Thomson Reuters. January 2019, I keep trying, like I constantly think that it was like last year, but it was just like a few months back. And our mission is elevating and empowering profile of women. So as you can see, we try to have more than 50% women representative being on the panel. So I want a round of applause for all of our panelists. Sorry about that. We appreciate our men allies, and we know that we cannot be doing this diversity and inclusion that we're trying to do right now just by all of us women. So although it's called Persian Women in Tech, but it's literally all of us. And we're so grateful for all the men in the room. I want a round of applause for all the men. I've heard in the past that some of my Persian friends, they said, oh, this is like a Persian Women in Tech. There's no space for men. So I know that you're very courageous to be here. So thank you so much for being here. The last round of applause goes to the team members. This is not a one-person show. So all of us are having our own businesses and life and jobs. And so I want all of us to recognize Parisa in the back, Arzu, and Pega, who is actually our new team member in Toronto. And I think without any further ado, I just wanted to point out that our next event is on October 23rd. We'll send an invite to all of you who participated today, but I'll pass this over to Nasaran, and we're going to have a fabulous conversation about the future of e-commerce.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
I think we're starting this right before thanking our amazing team of PR and HR here. Monique, Erin, and Jacqueline, thank you very much. You guys are awesome. And since this is educational, it is an intellectual conversation through technology, I wouldn't be doing it justice before starting and opening up our conversation with saying the fact that nothing will last but friendship and humanity and loving each other and taking care of each other. And no one better than Molana can actually help us with finding it with the best beautiful verses that he put together. I apologize saying this in Farsi because you will not be able to do the justice for saying this in any other language but the one that he intended to write. دنیا همه هیچ و اهل دنیا همه هیچ ای هیچ برای هیچ بر تو هیچ مهیچ دانی که پس از عمر چه ماند باقی مهر است و محبت است و باقی همه هیچ. That's the only thing we have this amazing achievers of a panelist. I'm actually very excited to listen to the responses that you are going to have to the questions that we have. And please feel free to open up the question, the answers to anyone that you feel more related to. How do you see the current e-commerce landscape? Where are we? Is e-commerce a hope? Is e-commerce real? Is it being given too much of a, attention that it is supposed to have? How do you see it? Draw us a picture of where are we and where do you see e-commerce landscape today? Please. Who wants to start?
I can start. So I have mixed feelings about e-commerce as I get
more socially conscious in some domains. The way I go about consuming is changing for me. But at the same time, I think it's a great opportunity in the way e-commerce is progressing to have that social consciousness. And technology can be there, we can be there to support it. And it's an angle, but you know, I don't know if like we used to talk about, you know, e-commerce is this multi-channel, consumer-centric, this is what we want to build, integrate it. But the way I envision e-commerce with that lens of social consciousness is this harmonious, flawless experience that's actually curated for the customer. So if I may paint a picture of where I see e-commerce goes, and there's a lot of beautiful Persian women, and I like my clothing, I'm sure everybody does, so I'm going to pick sort of the clothing industry as an example of that. What I see e-commerce go is imagine a few brands that you're aligned with, that you like, that you shop for, as an example. Those brands, someone is technology, tells you about those brands and says, hey, did you know, Sarah, that there's these few articles of clothing or what might have you available? It then layers the information with my social media experience and curates that a bit further down the funnel and says to me, and did you know one of these brands just put out a statement about their carbon footprint? Because that matters to me, that's important, you know, as important to another consumer. It then puts it in my augmented reality closet. And it shows how I would look in those pieces of clothing. And as I browse through it, and I eventually select one, it asks, and I want to purchase it without any yes, no, thumbprint, anything, just asks my permission and purchases that product for me because it already has my credit card information, whether it's my digital wallet or however it's connected. I can't quite envision how it all comes together. And then it gives me a choice. Would you like a drone to deliver this to you? Or if you have an appointment tomorrow that's near the store that carries it in stock, we can hold it for you. Because it knows what's in my calendar. So when I talk about curation of e-commerce and what it can do, and all of this is technology that's here today. There's nothing extraordinary about any of these pieces of technology. So for me, again, it's that flawless, fluid, harmonious way that something for customers curated. That's where I say for e-commerce.
So in a way, you see that very soon, my fridge can actually send a shopping list to the local grocery.
Absolutely.
And say, she hasn't had oversizing for the past month. To actually give some of the ingredients.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Let us know what that is. I'm coming over for farmer's salad.
That's a very awesome picture. Between now and then, what do you guys see between getting to that level of e-commerce that is not driven, not a scary thing, it is actually something that can
That's, to answer your question, from 2012 and between 2012 and 2019, Canadian e-commerce business has grown from $12 billion to $35 billion of online transactions only in Canada. That's nothing more real than e-commerce because it's not e-commerce anymore, it's part of commerce. That's how people transact. I don't know how many people, I cannot imagine people that do not do weekly shopping online. We all buy stuff online. At the same time, it comes, as powerful as it is, it comes with its downsides. It's a technology challenge. It's also has enabled some of the dark side of the people, such as impulse shoppers and people with having trouble of controlling purchase and all of those things. So it's a combination of like any new technology coming up. It's full of good things and has the downsides of the things. And it also, if you are a small business in shop in somewhere in Ontario, you don't feel that great about this e-commerce because it's hard to compete with Amazons and Walmarts. and those kind of people. So it has its all up and downs when you look at e-commerce from the general perspective. But there is nothing more real than that.
Good and bad of people. We have now need to be more careful of the product.
Yeah. Definitely, they all. So, past year, in the past 365 years, one shopping mall closed in the US every day. So, in the United States, that means that shopping, in the United States, 365 shopping malls closed in the past 365 days. That also means a lot of people went out of job. Cashier jobs, people who are retail jobs, all of that. So it has its own challenges. At the same time, it is creating jobs in the commerce sector. So technology and Amazon is now the largest employer in many states. So it's the whole dilemma is shifting.
Well, one thing is that, so, you know, we talked about e-commerce and people thought, oh, you know, e-commerce is gonna wipe out brick and mortar, but still a majority of transactions are done in brick and mortar. And I think really a successful e-commerce platform is the one that's built for customers. And really, I find that these days they're really the days of, you know, the offline, online, you know, digital, physical are over because it's becoming a very seamless experience. And I think the brands that are doing really well are the ones who understand that really the interconnectivity of the physical and digital and really making that experience for the customer very seamless. That as a customer, I can choose to go to a store or shop online however way I want to. So I personally don't think e-commerce is going to take away from brick and mortar. We are in a business that actually we work with retailers that are investing technology in their brick and mortar stores. So it's just going to be very complementary to each other. It's going to be very customer centric.
That's a very nice angle to look at the topic, that it is not here to take away from brick and mortar, it is to complement it. But it is in a very direct contradiction of seeing 365 of the brick and mortar actually closed. So how should this activity gracefully going towards customer centric? So a customer that used to, for instance, a 60, 70-year-old basically that used to go to the bank and do their banking and basically that was the joy of their week, to dress up, go to the branch and do their, just pay for their bill. Now they are finding the branch is closing and you have to learn how to do online. How do we justify this? How do you see this as? It is customer centric. There are many of customers that are very happy. They couldn't remember when was the last time they went to their branch, but we have those as well. So how do we find the balance? How do we make sure that all of our users, all of our customers are actually taken care of?
I think for me it's transitional. So I do see a time that there won't be, and this may be bold, that there won't be brick and mortar. Now that is in the sense that it used to be, that you would walk into a bank and there would be a teller, and they would take your PIN and they would open an account for you or what might have you. So it's a transition. It's not an overnight experience, but I think interactions with customers, aside from digital, are going to become experiential. And I think this is already happening. So there's a lot of brands that create experiences for their consumers in terms of promoting their brand, where you can sort of touch and feel the product or build a brand equity for that, and hosting dinners or what might have you, with leveraging influencers. So it's not, the brick and mortar needs to shift from the walk-in to the experience that you're going to create for your customers.
So the user experience will become front and center.
And it's all about user experience. And it's also generational, right? It depends who you're talking to. If you talk to a millennial or Gen X or whatever the new generation, it's
We're all raising some.
yes, For example, when you're talking about retail banking, the brick and mortar banking doesn't make any sense to them. They don't want to go to a bank. They never like to carry cash. That's not part of their culture. We grew up on cash environment. We knew why should we go to a bank or an ATM, for example. But you see that what Eugene, our mutual friend, used to call digital environments are actually taking business away from these large corporations. That's the whole concept of being disruptive in the technology, and your company is one of the examples of that being disruptive in the whole concept of paper book, And so it's generational. Of course, for as long as people like us are on this planet, brick and mortar makes sense, but we don't know what the next generation and generation after will prefer. So, and brick and mortar will have to evolve to complete this.
It's funny because I feel like we're talking about e-commerce and I'm here defending brick and mortar here, but it's interesting. On a side note, I was reading this article that they're actually churches now going into shopping malls because the real estate is available and they feel that it's a good space for them to use. But to talk about millennials, actually the younger generation, we're finding research that they like the personal experience of going to the store. And one of the perfect examples of it is that the brands that I admire are the direct-to-consumer brands. Because they're focused on the consumer. They're driven out of what the customer wants, and they start online. These are the like of Warby Parker, Glossier, Casper. But now we work with a lot of those brands, and they are opening their retail stores. So they're expanding their retail footprint because they don't see it as brick and mortar. They just see it as a physical manifestation of their brand that started online. And they're expanding their retail footprint. So I think, e-commerce started and it was very transactional, but it changed and became very personal and experiential. And brick and mortar is going to go through that it was very transactional and now it's going to take a different format. But they're going to be very complementary to each other versus being at two different channels. And you see that retailers are now looking at, years ago when e-commerce came there, like, we're omni-channel. Like, no, you were multi-channel back then, but now they're really becoming omni-channel, that really don't see the two for different channels, whether it's online or in-store. They don't see them as competing with one another, so they're just complementary to each other.
Actually, you have a very good point. And if any one of us through a busy day, or for that matter, a lazy day, go past the Apple store, that's a very good example of brick and mortar. It still makes a lot of sense. A lot of people still want to go back. And there was a time that, this is human nature. We evolved to actually latch to a specific thing and then go to that level of the extreme and then find, oh, hold on a second, you need to come back a little bit, find the balance, the keyword being balance here. So also we have witnessed some of the brick and mortar that went towards let's just completely leave e-commerce, and then they've dialed back. They are still trying to find completely their physical and digital work. So I think it is a very interesting landscape. There are not a very easy way to predict what is coming. Human nature is very simple, yet very complicated when it comes to a matter of shopping and paying for what they are looking for. There are some services and comments and stuff that you can, nowadays exist that when we growing up, had no meaning, no place to nowadays you have people that are starting selling how they can a person comes, if you do, have a channel and they start eating and everyone is just going there, clicking and not seeing what is coming after them. So I think it's a very interesting era, to say the least, to be part of it. And it is amazing to be actually part of the shaper of that, or being able to say from time to time that I built that system, I was part of that system. So we all have some level of the pride to take from different systems that we have been involved, analyzed it, worked on it, marketed it, be a legal person for it, or actually taking to do it. So, back to that conversation we had of future looking of the e-commerce. And the funny part of if this device can talk to the other one, let's talk a little bit of how this future landscape should be marketed. What is the challenge of the marketer? To find a balance between all of this. How much do you divide your budget here or there or up here? Help us a little bit. Where do you see that?
My CFO is sitting here, so I gotta be careful about how I answer that.
Reveal the 2020 plan.
It's for marketing. It's hard and it's easy. It's easy because you've got a ton of information, but it's hard because people are looking for more personalization and you want something that's catered to you. And I think as a marketer, really, and I keep going back to this, just and as a business in general, you have to look at what your customers are looking for and give them that. And that leads into terms of how you, what your business model is, how you spend your marketing capital, where they're shopping, how they're shopping, and that's where you look at it. So I think, and it all really varies from business to business. You know, when you're on B2C, it's different than whether it's B2B. So I think from a marketer is really looking at where are your customers searching for that information, and you know, how do you provide them with that information?
How do you get those information?
So that's right now we have, guess as marketer and business, we have a ton of information on our customers, but we don't have enough insight and intelligence. So it's like we get a lot of data. The other thing that I think we have to be really cognizant of is, you know, the whole thing about data security and privacy issues and what we do with that as well. So that's the part that is like, how do you draw insight from the data that you have? And I think it's because it's really challenging because people are looking more and more for something that's curated to them, something that's personalized to them. And as a marketer, like, you can't do that. And I think there are some really niche brands, and I keep going back to this brand, and I know it might be a little bit of that, but Glossier started as a newsletter. This woman had a newsletter, a blog, and the readers gave her feedback in terms of what they were looking for, and that's how the brand blossomed. Like, the product is really driven by what the customer wants, and the whole marketing is how the customer goes for. So those are the brands that are really, I think, when you look at your customer, when you live and breathe and are so connected to your customer, you own that communication, then you know as a marketer, as a business, where to go and how to spend your money.
But how far do you go? I recall we were working in one of the previous companies on an app that would have a face recognition. You would go to the store, I would know who you are, your portfolio is up, I know what you have purchased in the last year. I know based on the number of the times that you have went to this aisle that you are into buying this toaster that you have for the past 3 times that you have visited our store. So next time when that toaster is actually on sales, I can simply, market directly. It is completely customized to your need. Me as a techie, I would be thrilled to get that. You ask similar person with a different kind of background, they'll say, it is creepy. Someone sends me you need this toaster, it is on sales, comfort. And immediately they are off. So how do you find the balance between not creeping out people?
Well, it has creeped out people. The main example is Target example, you probably have heard of it, right? That people found out things that they were not supposed to find out about their families through Target newsletters. And it's one of the problems that now technology is challenging, that how much information are we collecting from people and how much we're allowed to use. We're collecting a lot of information. That's what we call customer 360 in the techie world, that we follow customer wherever we can, whatever device they have, however they connect to it. And we do have a good prediction. Like on some of the clients we work together, some of the engines we have, after 3 clicks, we can say, you're a male or a female, on an anonymous browser, without you logging in. You're a male or female, what age range you are, whether you are a suburban family, a lot of categorization happens in the first 3 clicks. Sometimes I ask when people are customers, how is this still legal? You know, that's kind of, if we hear the government do that to
It's
us,
not
we'll
telling
be
you really
creepy.
how old it is, so that's good enough, it can be still legal.
Well, it's not the exact age, but it's the categorization, right?
Yeah.
So we'll know, for example, this is coming from a university door, this is a yoga pants, so it's probably a female in the 20s. You know, that kind of categorization happens in the background, right? So then you can push the products that is relevant. And that's how Amazon search engine and all of those things. And it's becoming popular. It's not cutting edge anymore. This is, you can get it off the shelf. This kind of
I love it. I love when I get that information about what my customer wants. And as a consumer, I like that. I like that, you know, now you're giving me something personalized. And I find it a little bit of, it's odd that as consumers, we're like, oh, I don't want the corporation to follow where I'm going or know where I'm going, but then I would go and 20 minutes later post that I just bought that toaster from this place. So I think customers are giving their data. It's just as how do you, as a business, really responsibly manage that data and to a point that you're not creeping, and it's finding the right balance. And I think there are times that as corporations we falter and we get, you know, creepy, and there are times that I think we're good at terms of giving you what you want, when you want it, how you want it.
I think the key word is actually what you just said, being responsible. Being ethically responsible for how we use those data, how we are protecting the data for that will take me to our next question, that how difficult it is nowadays to connect e-commerce solution to all other solutions that are needed as a platform for successful e-commerce, and yet keep the integrity, keep the security. What are the challenges that you are facing there, and how do we suggest those needs to be addressed?
So I bet coming from payments and rewards perspective of it, I think for financial institution payment platforms, that's a huge piece. And I say, how do you Shopify every experience online? Not referencing to Shopify, who's doing incredibly well. But that is probably the most fundamental. I don't look at, I'm on the verge of knowing, I don't want to really give that away, but I don't look at an Instagram account if it's not Shopify, because I want information. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to transact on it, but I want information on that. So payments as part of the puzzle and that integration, it's really, really important from that online experience. And it's interesting because when earlier we were talking about items purchased, but I use my thumb for every coffee, every transaction at Shoppers Drug Mart. So I'm probably having an e-commerce transaction 5 times a day and just kind of on my wallet. But to go back to your question, that's a big undertaking. That's a really big undertaking. And I think fundamental to all of that is garnering the trust between the consumer and the brand and the platform that will be delivering. If you don't do it well, if you don't do it right, it's done. I think it's really hard to recover that. I think it's really hard for brands to recover back for that. So from a payments perspective, that is pivotal in terms of how you collect my payment information, where you're storing it, who can access it, and the availability of that payment system regardless of where I go. And banks are having a hard time with that because you also have entries from every other vertical in the different industries, from Amazon, from Apple, that are entering that space because it's so critical to e-commerce.
Payment is one of the most difficult ones.
It is.
Payment is one of the most difficult ones because of PCI compliance. So you have to be privacy compliant for information. And you also have a lot of other things to come together to provide a meaningful platform as an e-commerce. So any commerce transaction, from a theoretical perspective, has 3 major entities. There's product, customer, and payment. So if you go to an or even a physical store, you pick a product, you're a customer, and you pay for it. That's a traditional thousands of years of transactions. On e-commerce, digital is the same. You have a product, you have a customer, and you have payment systems that transact. For product, you will need a product catalog, which will need this supply chain management, which will extend for like a company like Walmart, extend all over to China, and they know that what are they going to sell 2 years from now? Because in order to produce that material, the supply chain has to work all the way to the minings, that how much oil, how much copper, how much plastic do you need to make. And all the way, and then the customer, you don't have to go through the complexity of customer. We just talked about customer cases, and the information is collected about the customer. But fundamentally, if you get these three things right, you will get the proper e-commerce solution.
Can you repeat that? What are those?
Customer, product, and payment.
So with that comes all the CRM, all the customer communication. With the product comes all your supply chain, all your purchasing, and with payment comes your finance. So we just named the main organ of any commerce that needs now to be in a technology platform. Good luck to us as technologists building all of that flawlessly, and yet we are seeing so many very nicely interwoven technology e-commerce that are coming together. The key here is then the humans behind the systems that are building it, that are designing it, that are actually providing a solution for those e-commerce systems. How do we train them? As a group that we are pioneered 8 drives in the industry, how do we train the next generation to be on top of the game, to build a system that can leverage what we have learned, what we have not? How do you train your next generation e-commerce business? Marketer, money, technology, how do we work?
So, from the technology perspective, is now a lot of this is about data and artificial intelligence, what we call machine learning. The e-commerce is now, so the platforms are all out of the box. You can go a standard full e-commerce solution with Shopify in weeks. You can go with other custom builds. And the technology is not the issue from the putting up a catalog and connecting a payment system all the box. It's pretty easy. But if you want to differentiate yourself from any traditional commerce, is when we get into big data, knowing the customer, what is the customer's behavior. And these are the niche markets. If anybody is looking for train themselves into technology, is the big data and machine learning and artificial intelligence. That is now almost every company that wants to differentiate themselves is looking to hire.
I think that's the insights that you were referring to. It's not just data, but the insights.
Yeah, the other thing I would add to that is that, yeah, there's a technology component of it, but really understanding who is your end user, who's your customer, and I think that's probably bridging the gap between technology and business, is that as you train people on the technology side, also train them in terms of understanding what the business needs are, who is using that to have that, consumer lens on whatever product they're creating and producing. Yeah, absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, regardless of brick and mortar, e-commerce, or anything, it's a human behind it that is making that decision for purchase. Until my priest left to help back to order, that it is not a human behind it. We need to go through the user experience of how to actually have this Internet of Things together. Well, thank you very much. I now want to open the floor for any questions that our audience have to gain some of the insights on questions that you might have for our panelists. If you don't mind speaking up a little bit.
So we were talking about the economics of the He said the moment they are key
Gold standard.
e-commerce business. So I would like to know, how are they making this successful?
I would like to know what are they doing in terms of marketing or whatever it is that they need to do in order to make their business to be successful. Because obviously they're selling from, they're not just selling to small group of clientele, they're selling to everybody. They're not selling just to young people. They're not just selling to people who are technology savvy. They're not just selling to seniors. They're selling to everybody, to every part of the population. So how are they doing this? Personally, I want to know, not being in that line of the work, but I would like to.
First of all, Amazon is a very diversified company. Amazon is not only an e-commerce company, Amazon also has an arm for cloud hosting. Also, Amazon has digital streaming, videos and audio. But to answer your question with regards to e-commerce, Amazon spends a lot of money on artificial intelligence. Their biggest asset on e-commerce is their recommendation engine. To know if you have item A, B, and C in your shopping cart, what is the most probable item B that you're going to add to that? And there's a mathematical formula. And there are a lot of mathematicians working on these recommendation engines. Whether you're an anonymous shopper or you're coming from Facebook, recommendation, all of that, what would be the next most probable product you will add to your shopping? And that recommendation engine almost changes every year. We redo it from scratch because the math they're behind it and changing. To stay ahead of the competitor. I can say that because they publish their recommendation engine for the last couple of years. You can go to IEEE or some scientific magazines and see Amazon recommendation engine formula published to public. So they're ahead of the market with regards to recommendation. What also differentiated Amazon from any other retailer on the planet, they were one of the first that were digitally native versus companies that were having a brick and mortar, which is a kind of legacy, what we call, that is holding you back from being fast and competitive. What is the technology has changed in the business world is how big you are doesn't matter anymore. It's important that how fast you are. You can see the example of a company like Dollar Shave went against it with 100-something years of experience. How fast they could actually adapt to market, how could they actually understand their clients' needs, right? And how to do that. Amazon does all of that. And in addition to that, they are smart enough that they're not only betting on e-commerce. They have other lines of businesses that will complement the Amazon. If e-commerce is not doing well, Amazon can easily afford to lose money on the shopping.
We can actually spend days talking about how they are doing it and how they are not doing it in multiple places. From the facade that we are seeing, it's actually all good and all everything. From behind the scenes, many of the areas are not basically producing, but because they are so successful on others, they can cover it.
Because they're not actually profitable companies.
I think 70% of their business still on the cloud platform, so there's also services and actually in shopping. The other area, if I may add to that, they excel, and I do think all these companies need to still evolve their business model, because the speed in which everything is moving is quite remarkable, is the supply chain, where they connected the seller of the product to the end consumer without having to hold inventory. So they just provided a platform. And that is unbelievable because the US is so expensive. That sort of hosting a product, ordering it, where you have extra, that is a huge component of it. Now they're facing some challenges in terms of the quality control, the consumer, but that was one ingenious move that we see in the space.
We have more questions.
One question here.
Hello. Obviously, you talked about curating to the customer experience. I'm wondering, for between a company that delivers physical products which people need to go possibly into a store and feel and touch and feel, let's say clothing or something, versus a company that delivers digital products like books or training courses or whatnot. How do you curate the customer experience in that particular space where, let's say, it's a course on something that they're trying to learn? How do you customize it to them? Obviously, what I'm looking for is something more sophisticated than, okay, this user has taken a course in A, B, and C. What course are they going to take in stage D? Or possibly even if there is such a thing, if there's room for such a thing at all, in your opinion.
It's a good question. It's been a while since I've taken the course online, but I think when it comes to that, just kind of that holistic view of that the course may not be understanding what the objective is. What is it that are you getting just higher education and a different vertical that you want to move to? So again, the understanding of the customer and curating it, and maybe I can showcase an article to you that was written recently that will educate you more, help you more to get that grand objective rather than $200 that you're going to spend on this potential course. So just something that came to my mind, but it's really understanding the customer and their objective and not just selling the course.
I don't know, we have a question here as well.
I got a question regarding the privacy. Like you guys were talking about it being creepy because you see something that you were looking for and it just popped up. I feel maybe it's feeling more creepy because consumers are not feeling they're safe with their data. It's more like, oh, a hacker or a burglar can figure out when you're at home or when you're not, or the government can get access to that data. Are you guys, as a different companies, doing anything to protect the user from the other end? That's anything that, oh, we're not going to disclose this, whether it's legal or illegal to the government? Like,
I can
so
give you
what's
actually a little bit of an input to how one of the government Eastern places was after us to provide the list of the books that your customers are purchasing. We just need to know what books are there in their libraries. So why is that? So because for every transaction, we are going to open a lottery for consumer because we want to promote reading. Okay, so you can do that without knowing the title of the book. Every time I'm doing this, I will send you that so-and-so purchased a book. I can be behind it and tell you that this person has started the book. But you're not going to get what name of the book is unless we go to our site and say, for your customer, for you to be part of that lottery, your government wants to know the name of the book. Are you okay with it? Asking it a couple of times, multiple times, and if they are okay with it, doing that, which we finally got to the point that it doesn't matter how many times they say we are okay with it, we're not going to give the name of the book that they are reading. So these are the stuff that we as a corporate needs to be very, very informed and ethically thinking about where this data can go. The amount of the budget that we are spending on our GDPR process and our security is substantially different from 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm sure it is the same for every other companies that are A, ethically looking at this, and B, are making sure that they're not being sued. I suppose.
what you're saying at Eastern government, what if it was FBI or some?
Doesn't matter, doesn't matter, it's the same. At the end of the day, there are laws that are protecting consumers, and all
Yes and
those
no.
amendments
I mean,
are
we have
part
seen
of
a
it.
lot of stuff happening with Google and Apple and FBI requesting a lot of the customers' data. I mean, but I don't see any movement coming from any of the companies that are saying, oh, we're going to encrypt it in a way that even us, we don't know. So that way everyone is protected. We have information to help sell stuff to you, but we're not going to identify you or let anyone else
That's
figure
where
it
the
out.
blockchain is. And all the platforms that are moving towards that are literally towards this. I used to work for BlackBerry years ago, and one of the pioneers of the concept of encryption like this was that when you are sending the BBM back and forth, even the engineers who built that, they didn't know what are the messages that are going back and forth. We are not there yet. It comes with a lot of investment, comes with a lot of energies, and quite frankly, balancing between all of that. Yes, we are separating customers' credit card with a different information. Those are getting a very, very different kind of protection when it comes to the money that is being transacted. But the name and the email might not get that level, because otherwise I will run out of business spending all of my money on protecting this information. But how I do that is to actually tell my consumer that the name and email might be great, but your credit card is safe, because this is the way that happens. It's an act of balance.
How are the other companies doing?
So I think it'd be any company's worst nightmare.
Any company's worst nightmare to have a data breach. And I think it's becoming more of a norm. It's not a matter of if for any company, it's more a matter of when. And what we need to do as companies to do our best to prevent, to keep up with all changes, but also when it happens, how quickly you respond, how deep you let or don't let them go. So it is, any company would treat a credit card payment or payment information differently potentially than your name and email, because there is a lot of